The martial artist ego. If you want to know what I did, I saw an entrepreneurship article, and I'm basically subbing in the word martial artist for entrepreneur. There's a big article that's making the rounds on the internet. It's called The Entrepreneur's Ego. It's by Dr. Aniruddha Malpani. It says he's an angel investor, but I think his advice about entrepreneurs and egos definitely applies to us as martial artists. And this is a brief article. I can read it word for word, but I may not do that. I'm definitely going to read this part and just sub out entrepreneur for martial artists. So it'll sound like this. Martial artists need to be made of a different metal than the rest of the world. You have to have the courage of your convictions. You need to be irrationally optimistic. You need to be resilient. You need to be willing to accept the fact that most people will not understand what you're trying to do. You need to be willing to take risks because you have a bee in your bonnet, which you want to pursue more than anything else in the world. Especially as an adult, man. This is me talking. Especially as an adult. You're going to have to go out there and have courage beyond courage, perseverance beyond perseverance. Those are those Taekwondo tenets. Perseverance and indomitable spirit. Because a lot of people are going to be wondering why a grown person is letting himself get beat up periodically. Or if in a martial art we don't get a lot of contact, why you're doing these funny little dance moves in fast or slow motion for little to no money. They're going to think that you should be doing some kind of lucrative combat sport, like professional boxing or, professional MMA. Because when you grow up in the U.S., money makes the world go round. Now back to the article. This is what makes martial artists so special. And because she needs to ignore what the rest of the world thinks, her ego suit can be her strong suit. He has belief in himself and is confident that he can succeed, which is why he doesn't get fazed, no matter how many rejections he has to listen to. I would say in our case, it's not necessarily rejections, but more criticisms and judgment from the non-martial arts world. He keeps on going because he's sure he's headed in the right direction. Yes, it's possible that he may still fail in spite of all of his best efforts, but at least he will have peace of mind knowing that he did his best and was true to himself because he followed his own path. Now, the whole thing about following his own path is definitely true of those of us who are making our own styles up. We're going to get a lot of pressure from people to conform to the existing styles, and people are going to wonder, well, what makes you so smart? What makes you so special to do your own style, especially if you're not like a pro? If you're not somebody who used to be a pro fighter who competed a lot, and you have a million trophies to back you up, or you weren't blessed by some of the previous existing grandmasters to make up your own thing. That's why, despite the impact that Bruce Lee's had on the world, people still criticize him. I mean, I still say, even if he did get beat up by Vic Moore, which, even though I'm a Bruce Lee fanboy, I do believe Vic Moore is probably faster than him in that drill, but I still like Bruce Lee. So, this entrepreneur having single-minded focus, it definitely applies to martial artists, especially if you're trying to get a martial arts black belt as an adult. Unfortunately, for some martial artists, their ego becomes the weakest link in the chain. They feel that they have all the answers and don't need to listen to anyone else. If anyone disagrees with them, they believe it just means the other person is too short-sighted to understand the big picture. They will refuse to engage with people who have the temerity to criticize them or disagree with them. Now, we have to go no further than many martial arts discussion boards to see that. But I'm sure we've all ran into martial artists. I would say more along the teaching end than the student or journeyman. They feel like they have all the answers, and they're just closed off. They don't want to listen to anything other than what their style is. And the tricky thing, especially with martial arts, is sometimes they're right. Now, some people have been around long enough to know what BS is. But I think the ones who are really, really good, they've been around long enough to know what BS is, but they can explain to you why the idea that you're entertaining is BS and then give you a solution. So back to interpolating the article. This can be a sticky issue, which can lead to their downfall. While their ego can be their best friend, martial artists also need to remember that their ego can be their worst enemy as well. Because you got to have the courage to want to do it. I mean, it really takes a big ego to say, I want to be a black belt. It really does. Because, especially in the eyes of the public, people will be like, what makes you so special? You think you can beat everybody? You a black belt? Can you beat me up? I got a black belt on right now. What makes you so special? You know, that type of thing. Yes, I'm sure a lot of martial artists will have less than flattering things to say about the investor's ego as well. And I'll be talking about this in my next post. So apparently, in the big business world, entrepreneurs and investors got a thing going like MMA against traditional martial arts. And this is nothing but the Tao Te Ching playing itself out. There will be one thing, and one will become two. So I've never made the big money. So I'm just asking if there's anybody who's made the big money that's listening to this. Do we have a split in the business world of entrepreneur versus investor? Because I would see the investor as the traditionalist, because if you're investing money, from what I've learned in school, you want to invest in things that the type of businesses that you know work, that have tried and true methods that have stood the test of time. That's like TMA. And then these entrepreneurs coming up here like these MMA cats, all with this newfangled thing, or things that they think are new but really are old, and want to get you to invest your money. You know, kind of like how some MMA fans, they actually want boxing fans to recognize how great MMA is, and they want traditional people to recognize how great MMA is, whether they will admit that to themselves or not. So anyway, I'm done. I'm going to put a link to the original article in here. Take a look at it. For this, we are saying it's the martial artist ego, because to me, again, the martial artist is an entrepreneur. So now it's making me think that I should read about investing, because maybe the martial artist is also an investor, because he's investing his knowledge. And look at the equation that this video is built around. Ego equals 1 over knowledge. Albert Einstein, I believe, came up with that. The quote I'm reading here says, more the knowledge, less the ego, less the knowledge, more the ego. This is what they call an inverse relationship, meaning that if you have 1 over something, that's saying that whatever you're saying is equal to 1 over something is the opposite of it. So it's saying that the bigger your ego is, the less you know, and the more you know, the smaller your ego gets. So let's bring that over to the martial arts. I'm going to do my best to keep that approach within me. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for your time, and peace.